Let's talk about what we do when a position has gone up a lot and this market is red hot, and how we manage risk and follow our risk management rules. I'm Scott Bennett with the great Mike Olafson of Invest with Rules. We're going to cover that, number one. So, how do you handle kind of trailing stops and making sure that you capture a large majority of your gains and don't let it slip away? And then number two, this is really cool. This is in regards to our indicator that we follow, the trend roadmap, and some confirmation signals that can be wildly helpful. So let's dive in and let's look at some screens. Before we do, world's quickest disclosure, this is just information. It's not a direct solicitation to go buy or sell anything. So please manage your rules, manage your risk. We're going to talk about that. So let's go right here. So this is a snapshot of the top of our model portfolio. We run this in our Invest with Rules newsletter for members. So it's just the top, just to be fair to our members. And we own these in our totally separate business, IWR Advisors, where it's more of a done for you, full financial planning, trend following advisory firm. All right, Mike, let's dive in to the ETF WGMI. And before we jump into that, what on earth is WGMI? It's not WNBC, WGMI. It is data centers, used to be Bitcoin miners, but the biggest holdings are CIFR Digital, IREN, TeraWulf, Core Scientific. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about where our risk was, where we moved it, and how we operate.
Yeah, so I'm glad you laid that up as to what it is. We added it. We got a gas signal yesterday. We had an open slot in the portfolio, so we added it yesterday, and it was up over 10% today. And you could see that our gain is already almost 16%. But the trailing stop loss is what we focus in on for risk. And right now, what we normally do is we set our trailing stop loss on when our gas signal would go to coast. In other words, when we're going to lose the short-term trend. Yep, exactly where you're pointing to, Scott. That's our normal trailing stop, is our estimate. Okay, when's it going to go from coast to gas? Let's go ahead and get out of the position because the short-term trend has ended. However, something like WGMI is so far extended from that. It's up, if memory serves, about 22% above our trailing stop right now. So what we did based on that happening is we decided, okay, we want to cap our loss to no more than 15% should WGMI pull back in drastically over the next few days. So we updated our live sheet to, instead of showing that lower trailing stop that is roughly 22% away, we now are adjusting it to 15%. In other words, basically taking the lesser of the two, saying, okay, 15% is going to be our new trailing stop. Even though it might still be on a gas signal, we got to manage risk. So, Scott, if you could kind of put any other color on that or clarification, and then I think we should go to TradingView to kind of show it on the chart.
Yeah, let's just pop there. So I'm going to show the chart of TradingView. So this is a indicator that we developed using a complimentary free version of TradingView, and it has, again, back to right here, kind of that gas coast break framework that we follow, which is based on trend and math and relative strength. And this would be the day in which we purchased it in the morning. So what we're looking for is a gas signal when our capital was available to deploy. Um, this ETF became a gas signal on April 8th. And then on April 10th, it got that green confirmation upward facing arrow, which we're going to talk about in a second. So stick around. It went, the orange box is overheat, which is an RSI over 68, which says for us to kind of pause. It's gone up a lot. And then it had a little teeny moving pullback held the 21-day exponential moving average, which some people like to look at, so we show it. And then we got our confirmation signal on the 4th again. We bought it on the 5th, and then it's only been 2 days, and this has been a boiling red hot market. And now you're back on overheat. So we're in, so we're holding. And if we were looking at it today, we'd say be cautious and be patient. But in regards to our risk, I mean, it's gone up pretty substantially pretty quickly. So, anything other commentary or color around the colorful trend roadmap indicator?
Yeah. I think, in fact, the natural question would be if I'm watching this, I'm going to say, well, hey guys, why did you buy it yesterday when it had that orange box, that orange square that it was overheated? You don't buy on overheat. Well, intraday, and that's the fun thing about charts is, especially a daily chart, intraday, we didn't have that. So we ended up buying it before it went red hot and kind of hit that overheat state. So just explain that.
Yeah. And you see this green arrow. Let's transition with that. So you see how it still has a green upward facing arrow, and this is a confirmation signal, a power up, or whatever you want to, whatever kind of fun name we'll call it. But what we're trying to do is to put the edge and the odds further in our favor. The question is it more likely, again, that the price could continue higher? And when we have these green upward facing arrows, there is a probability that increases that it could continue to climb. And then when the green arrow fell off, it kind of, you can see how it kind of was a down day, an outside day reversal. And then it kind of pulled back, and you got the confirmation that green triangle within the gas signal, short term and long term uptrend right here, and it continued. So let's peel back, and you'll see it all the way off to the far right. So WGMI has that green arrow on a gas signal, or overheated because it's over 68. You'll also see things like Caterpillar has it, CAT. Amazon has it, SPMO, the momentum version of the S&P 500, and Seagate, STX, which has been a workhorse since April 8th for us, still has it despite its incredible run. So, Mike, what would you share about these kind of green triangle pointed north? Any comments or anything we should be looking at?
Well, it really just to kind of sum it up, these two changes, we're all about continuous improvement and trying to make things better and better for our members and for ourselves. And these two examples, where we added things that would help us and by extension, hopefully help our members to put a little bit more edge in their favor. So the first one is to basically manage risk and say, hey, we're not going to let something go beyond that 15% mark, and we're using 15% arbitrary. You could use 10% or whatever you're comfortable with. And the second one is to show that green arrow on our live sheet so you don't necessarily have to go over to TradingView and see it. You can quickly see that, WGMI has the green arrow. So those two enhancements are helping us and hopefully they help our members.
Yeah, and let's take another example. So we were talking to a phenomenal investor that was like many investors, where this has been a really fast move
Yeah.
after the conflict in Iran has really stopped impacting prices of equities. And this investor, she's really heavily in cash and she's stuck. And it's really hard. And I can empathize. And this is why a couple things. Number one, having a process, having rules that you follow is incredibly important. That's number one. Number two, having some sort of indicator that will tell you that, yes, March 30th was the low. Let's just maybe we'll look at SPMO as an example. That was your low. And then it went the 31st, you climbed, and then it went to coast. You got that green arrow, and then you got your gas signal with confirmation on April 6th. So, despite how you feel, despite how much cash you have, if you are looking, and this is a long term, you can handle risk, that is your get in Batman alert. So, that's why also you'll see at the top of our live sheet, click here to join this Friday's Trends with Friends call at noon. Also, having a community of people that are we have your back. We want you to do really well. We're in this together. We want to do well. We want you to do well. Having some sort of a community can also be really helpful where you can ask questions and be a part of something really fun. So, Mike, we'll wrap up with that. So, number one is making sure whether you use hard stops or trailing stops, you use soft, meaning you're available an hour a day. You wake up and you go, today's my hour to trade, or you use conditional orders at your brokerage company. Having a process to manage risk and do not let a small loss turn into a big loss is number one. Number two is having there also be these downward facing arrows. So
Yep.
having a process to say, I'll share one more ticker that has been red hot for us, the telecom space that's more involved with AI. I think we're up almost 20 to 30% in this
Yep.
position. You can kind of see how April 2nd, you got your gas, the red arrow fell off. You got your confirmation on April 2nd, and it has just been doing superb. But then today, you got that red arrow. So there is a probability that there's a little bit more pullback to go. Will it happen? The after hour says more likely. So could you come back down and test the 10-day or the 21-day? Or so we want to use tools to help us to decipher what on earth is going on and put the odds in our favor. Any other
Hey,
final?
Scott. Yeah, Scott, let me ask you a question. We get the red arrow on XTLL? I'm sorry, XTL. Does that mean we saw it?
No, that's not our process. So our process, it's on a gas signal. We are up heavily. Our trailing stop is below and climbing, and it's done really well. Um, but this, at the moment, we would take some action if the position were to go from a gas to a coast. You're still on a gas signal,
Yep.
and you're up about 30%. So we still want to follow the trend, and this could be a really short pullback before another rip higher.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So really, that green arrow is really key to us buying, but the red arrow is not the signal to sell. It's simply, hey, watch out, something's going on. And certainly, even though it's on gas, it doesn't necessarily makes a lot of sense for us to add to it or go into that position if we're not already in it.
Yeah, I mean, here's an example of a USO, which we do not own in full and fair disclosure. It made a massive run as oil spiked. You got a kind of a clustering of downward red arrows, and you had one day of a coast, and then you jump right back. So even though today was a really nasty down day for oil, it's still up a lot. So um, it's more of an indicator to say if one is doing kind of partial positions, then one could do potentially a small trim and just be alert or raise your stop if that's something of interest.
Well,
Cool.
Scott, while we're here, we've actually talked about just about every part of the indicator. We might as well talk about one more. You go
Yeah.
back to that March timeframe, almost where you are. What's that X? Tell us about that X.
So what we do with relative strength index, which is its own movement into itself, not against the indexes. So when it's over 68, you'll get these orange boxes, which to us means be patient. The time to buy was here on the 27th. The time to buy oil was all of these green arrows before the box showed up. And then you still would have held this because it would have likely, your stop would have been well below, we wouldn't have been hit. And then you got this really beautiful confirmation signal on the 27th of February when the relative strength index it climbs from 68 and when it goes all the way until 88 based on our extensive back testing, that is the time where you bring your position back to its original size or consider just trimming, but that's our process. Please manage your process.
Yeah,
How did I do?
in Back to the Future, didn't the DeLorean have to get to 88 miles an hour to kind of launch into the future? I think so. I think it was 88. But it was it?
I think so, Marty.
But I no, I appreciate you covering that because you basically covered everything on the chart now. And by the way, yeah, it's we're using 68 for overheat on RSI and 88 for that really kind of red hot red line. But you could certainly use whatever is most comfortable for your process. But that works for us.
Or am I Marty?
I could be Doc. Yeah, there. I'll be Doc Brown. There you go.
All right, we'll
Great
pause there.
Scott. Great Scott. We got to end this, Scott.
That's too good. All right. Well, hopefully it was helpful. So manage your risk, manage your trailing stops, use indicators that are really helpful to save you a bunch of time. Well, again, if you have any questions, actually join us. Go to investwithrules.com, get our free S&P 500 ticker tool, be on the right side of the trend. And if you're looking for a community that follows trends, follows big money, and follows a lot of risk management rules so you stay in the game and you do really well is the hope, join us. Go to investwithrules.com. All right. Talk soon. I hope this helped you identify some uptrends or things coming to uptrends, but please always do your due diligence, manage your risk tolerance. This is not a direct solicitation, just things for your watch list. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you at investwithrules.com.